Hi everybody, welcome back, Module 6. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you at home. And mostly, the reason I want to thank you so much is I want to say that right now, my heart is filled with love. And when I say that, I mean something very specifically. I mean that I want you to be happy. I want all of us to be happy. And by showing up and engaging in this work, sitting on a cushion, monitoring and modifying your thoughts and triggers and sensations, that's the way that you're going to turn some things around for yourselves. It's totally worked for me. It can work for you too. So you're loving yourself when you practice. And just because this is Module 6, however, doesn't mean that it's over, right? This is actually just the beginning. We've learned a few things, and hopefully you understand now when you're sitting on a meditation cushion, like what you're doing. And it's sort of an entree, hopefully, to bigger and better, but it's just the beginning. Taking the time to change yourself does take a little time. So why don't I, right now, go through some of the big ideas that we've come through in these last weeks and give you sort of a big picture gestalt understanding of what you guys already know now. And since that's in your mental continuum, that's there to assist you. That understanding is there to assist you. That is going to help you when you get triggered the next time. So you've learned all about karma, and I'm not going to go through the list. It's in your book, but you understand that it's not a mystical schmystical concept, right? Causes do produce effects, and in a certain way, and it's our intentional actions that of thought, speech, and behavior that are the drivers of our karma. And karma just means the result, and it's good and bad based on how it makes you feel. Bad karma doesn't feel good, good karma feels great. And so what we're learning is we're learning how actions produce the results, and then because we know that, we could make better choices and improve the results of our karma. You've learned about the virtues book, and keeping that virtues book, let me just tell you, this is, if the meditation thing hasn't really taken hold right now, we've planted a seed, and hopefully the seed will ripen at some point. I remember there was a time where my intuition was telling me, do yoga. And about a year later, I started doing yoga. All right? So it can be the same way with meditation. But if you really want to get started and get something out of this class, and it's kind of like that 80-20 rule, do the thing that makes the biggest difference, do this virtues book. It's huge, all right? And we'll give you support on the online forum for this. You know that life makes itself, that nothing is running your cells. You're not doing it, it's running by itself. And the sum total of all those actions are making you who you are, and in total, the world how it is. And it all flows by itself, and it makes patterns. You know this now, okay? And it's gonna continue to work like that no matter what you do. But because you are watching your thoughts, your speech, and your actions, you're actually, by that activity, changing the flow of the actions, okay? And you know this now. You know basically what mindfulness is. It's a conscious choice to monitor your attention and globalize your awareness. So it's a local attention, global awareness, and maintaining a balance of that. trying to remember. We've talked about the mind, that the mind is more like a space, and it has an ultimate quality, that spatial quality that's not really a self, but it also has a relative quality. Those relative aspects, contact, feeling, discrimination, attention, and intention, those relative aspects, those are a relative self. And we're going to have both. Both are going to exist, and one is going to flow through the other. You know that now. You've learned about 3 families of meditation. The focused attention family, which is super important in terms of you learning how to keep your attention on what you want it to be on. Otherwise, the habits of the network can just take you away, and every little shiny thing or every little lousy thing will grab your attention. And if that's in your mental continuum, to be easily distractible, suffering is going to result. Okay? Not a lot of purpose driven activity when attention just gets hooked by every little thing. You know, I didn't mention the destructive family and the constructive family. The constructive family is basically using your imagination to create feelings inside of yourself, but also remember that when you're fixated, when you're frustrated and angry, spinning a story in your head, that's a constructive meditation too. Okay? So you could think of the result of that kind of constructive meditation as depression or anxiety, insomnia, those things that we don't want. We create those, we construct those in our minds. The destructive meditation is really what you're learning how to monitor and modify the triggers, thoughts, and sensations at a very high level on the meditation cushion. If a feeling of restlessness shows up, you don't give it your name. You don't think I'm restless. You say, what's that? And don't answer. It's a sensation. There might be thoughts associated with it, right? But the mindfulness aspect of you is deconstructing that. That's how you're going to be able to change yourself and work yourself out of these difficult patterns, by deconstructing them. Okay, so story machine. You know that your mind-body network is a story machine. Information is flowing in, energy and information, in the form of sights and sounds, your own thoughts and sensations. And when it all comes together, all of that energy and information, it's multimodal. It produces the narrative of me. And the themes of those narratives are going to cycle through your nervous system. And the themes can make you sick. Because from the themes, you're going to get emotion. A theme of threat will cause anxiety to arise, for example. Okay, you've learned that. You've also learned about neuroplasticity, that there's 2 sort of flows of causality, of cause and effect. One is coming from the body and the brain and physics and chemistry. That's sort of the bottom up. And whatever is programmed in our minds, in our brains, I should say, right now, that's what's going to show up in the moment right now. That's our current karma. But there's also a flow of causality that's the top down from the mind, where conscious intention decides to do something different, which changes the brain. Do you see that? And that's how we have to work. We can't rely on the bottom up because it's already programmed. We have to rely on the top down. And sometimes you have to push against your current karmas, not accept them so readily. Deconstruct the thoughts and the feelings that arise that seem like steady, solid things, break them apart a little bit. All right, so this is the table that shows how our story can make us sick. when stress, something that feels overwhelming, arises, it's going to mean something to us. And depending on the meaning, we're going to get an emotion. And depending on that emotion, if we really stay fixated, we can, in a sense, marinate or percolate, construct a mind-body, a stress-related condition. We've also learned about the 3 characteristics of life. Not that life itself is any of these things. Life appears to the, from one perspective, appears to show up this way. So from an unenlightened perspective, things are going to seem to be coming and going. Now, it's enlightened people see coming and going too, but they also see that eternal space beyond coming and going, where a lot of us aren't in contact with that. The dissatisfaction, this is something that we recognize all the time. Little flickers of sights and sounds, our own thoughts and sensations, seem to always produce a habit of being dissatisfied. And if you don't feel like you're dissatisfied in this particular moment, like this, if this teaching on dissatisfaction doesn't make any sense to you, just wait a little while. Because this impermanent flow of sights and sounds, thoughts and sensations is going to change in a way that that dissatisfaction is going to show up. And it's going to feel like, when that dissatisfaction shows up, it's going to feel like it's because of what's happening. But actually what this teaching is all about is to teach us to watch that we bring the habit of being dissatisfied. Life isn't dissatisfying, it's how we show up that produces the dissatisfaction. And we want to peer into that. And this last teaching is of not self. Super important to understand. We walk around relating to an idea of me, and this idea seems very solid. If I say think of yourself, you do, and that thought seems like there's some substance behind it, but there is no substance behind the thought. The self, if it's anything, it's a relative activity of sight, sounds, thoughts, and sensations. So life is the movement, it's the verb, it's not the noun, okay? And so that's all we're trying to understand here. Don't, please, if you want to be healthier and happier, don't strongly identify with anything that you don't want. Like, hi, go to a meeting and say, hi, I'm Mark, I'm a blank, and then just leave it at that, because you're not that. There's a pattern, okay, let's say, hi, I'm Mark, I have some patterns I'm working on. How you doing? Okay, I get that. All right, but to give your identity to something, be really careful about that, because the more you believe that you are that thing, you create the feedback loop. In that last slide, the neurons and the self, that feedback loop will get really tight and you won't be able to pop yourself out of it. Okay, so 3 characteristics. You can see this on a meditation cushion in the destructive practices, in the deconstructive practices. Circle of 3, related concept. And this is really an idea when you're being mindful in the world, meaning you're consciously bringing a lot of awareness to your current experience. You're going to have an awareness of yourself as the subject in contact with whatever you're paying attention to, the object, and there's going to be some sort of interaction between the two. Largely, these are karmic. Meaning, if a substance, let's say I have a karmic relationship with a substance, and I'm good, I'm not craving anything, but the substance shows up, then there's a subject and an object, and the interaction comes with. We can learn to deconstruct that. It's not who you are, it's just a dynamic. It's a flow of energy and information that you could watch. Do you see that? And so that applies to all people, places, and things. And so part of waking up and being more mindful in all the areas of our life is to notice your internal feeling states. Here I am, feeling scared in relationship to this thing. This is the interaction. Okay. Awareness is going to pop you out of those rigid reflexive patterns. So that's the circle of 3.